She was kicked out by her parents. Alone, afraid, and with a newborn in her arms. What happened next on that cold night changed her life forever. It's not just a story. It's a reality that's waiting around every corner. If you have ever thought that kindness no longer exists, this video will open your eyes. Post in the comments, where are you watching from? In the soft light of an early Vermont morning, the small-town bus stop was eerily quiet. Only the rustle of leaves and a distant crow broke the silence. At this lonely stop, a young teenage mother named Lily stood alone, her eyes brimming with tears as she clutched a sleeping baby in her arms. In a cruel twist of fate, Lily had just been thrown out by her own parents. Their harsh words and cold dismissal still echoed in her ears, leaving her with nothing but a tattered backpack of belongings and an overwhelming sense of despair. With nowhere else to go, she hesitated on the edge of the gravel stop, unsure whether the path ahead might offer refuge or further rejection. The chilly air stung as she watched the morning bus rumble past, a reminder that life carried on despite her heartbreak. Passers-by quickened their steps, their glances lingering for a moment before they looked away. People avoided her, perhaps in deference to her apparent misfortune, or maybe out of simple indifference. In that raw moment of vulnerability, the world seemed to have turned its back on the young mother. Then, as if by design and fate, an old, peculiar car pulled up near the bus stop. From it emerged a figure unlike any other. A sprightly, eccentric elderly woman with a shock of silver hair and a vibrant, mismatched outfit that defied convention. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and profound understanding, and when she stepped down from the car, her every movement exuded a quiet confidence in the midst of chaos. With slow, deliberate steps, the older woman approached Lily. Tilting her head slightly, she smiled with an earnest warmth that contrasted sharply with the cold rejection Lily had just experienced. "I feel as though you've been in my dreams," she said softly, her voice carrying both mystery and compassion. "My dear, I've been waiting for you." Lily, startled by the attention and the strange kindness in the woman's eyes, paused mid-sob. The words seemed surreal, a whisper of hope in a moment of crushing loneliness. Unsure if she had heard correctly, yet desperate for any sign of solace, Lily cautiously nodded, allowing the elderly woman to gently guide her away from the bus stop. As they began to walk, the enigmatic woman introduced herself as Grace. With every step toward her weathered, old house on the edge of town, Grace offered reassurance in a tone that promised refuge. The modest home, tucked discreetly behind overgrown hedges in a quiet corner of Vermont, looked as if it held stories of both sorrow and joy, a place where past losses might be turned into new beginnings. For Lily, each step away from the painful memories of abandonment felt heavy yet hopeful. In the grip of overwhelming uncertainty, the unexpected act of kindness from Grace sparked an ember of possibility. Even as the morning sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Lily's tear-streaked face and trembling heart silently dared to hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this eccentric stranger might offer the start of a life she never thought was possible. After leaving the bus stop behind, Lily found herself driven along winding country roads to a modest yet whimsical home tucked away on the outskirts of a small Vermont town. The car, a faded vintage convertible, rolled to a gentle stop in front of a weathered house that seemed to blend history and quirk into one. Ivy crept playfully along its stone walls. The windows were adorned with stained glass designs and mismatched curtains, and a brass door knocker, shaped like a dancing figure, awaited visitors. Here, Grace welcomed Lily with a tender but enigmatic smile, assuring her that within these walls, she would find refuge. The first few days in Grace's home were a heady mix of relief, trepidation, and quiet wonder. Lily quickly discovered that although the house exuded warmth and coziness, it was imbued with peculiarities that made it stand apart from anywhere she had ever known. Grace, an eccentric elderly woman with an unmistakable air of mystery, went about her daily routines in her own idiosyncratic way. Each morning, as she brewed her herbal tea in a brass kettle, she hummed old tunes that spoke of a bygone theatrical career. At times, she would pause, gaze into the distance as though remembering a long-lost friend, and then beckoned Lily over with a kindly, "Come, dear. Let me show you something magical." Despite the oddities, Lily felt her initial despair slowly beginning to ebb. The sanctuary that Grace's home offered was tangible, a sense of being cared for, even if the care came wrapped in layers of eccentricity. Grace encouraged Lily to help around the house. Whether it was tending to the small vegetable garden behind the property or dusting off stacks of faded photographs and handwritten diaries in the attic, each task provided Lily with a distraction from her troubled past and a small measure of purpose. She found that even the simple act of peeling a potato, as she listened to Grace's stories about her lost daughter, who once dazzled the local theater scene, stirred something warm in her chest. Yet, the curious atmosphere of the house was not without its moments of puzzlement. There were instances when Lily caught fragments of conversations that Grace seemed to be having with unseen companions. In the quiet hours of the afternoon, while the baby slept in a little wicker crib and the house settled into a serene lull, Lily would occasionally hear soft whispers emanating from behind heavy drapes in a hallway. And in the dining room, where a table set for more than two was decorated with menus of long-forgotten recipes, Grace would sometimes finish a sentence as if someone else had spoken, leaving Lily to wonder if the gentle old woman, despite her evident kindness, bore secrets that ran deeper than mere eccentricity. One particular evening, as the sky deepened to a velvet blue and a gentle rain tapped against the window panes, Lily sat alone in the parlor with Grace. The room was filled with curious relics, a gramophone softly playing a scratchy melody, dusty books lined up haphazardly on a shelf, and a large, intricately carved chest that Lily hadn't yet had the courage to ask about. Grace's eyes, alight with memories and a hint of melancholy, met Lily's inquisitive gaze, and with a knowing smile she said, "Oh dear, some things in this house are not for sharing. Not just yet." Her voice was playful, but there was an undercurrent of something unspoken, a hidden chapter of life that the old woman guarded carefully. For her part, Lily tried her best to embrace the wonder and kindness that the home offered. She learned to prepare simple meals under Grace's tutelage, discovering that even the most peculiar ingredients could come together to create something comforting. As she read snippets from Grace's old diaries, stories of a vibrant youth filled with theatrical ambitions and heartache, Lily began to wonder how someone so full of life and passion could have ended up living in such a secluded, odd refuge. Every night, as she lay in a spare guest room with creaking wooden floors and a quilt patched with vibrant scraps, Lily's thoughts fluttered between hope and lingering questions. Who was Grace truly? And what ghosts from the past roamed these halls? While the gentle rhythms of daily chores and quiet companionship offered solace, seeds of subtle suspicion also began to sprout in Lily's mind. The house, though undeniably warm, held whispers of forgotten pain, a lingering aura that seemed both a promise of healing and a warning of unspoken sorrow. Even as she took comfort in Grace's care, a part of her remained vigilant, curious about the unaddressed mysteries hidden behind locked doors and whispered conversations. In this blend of tender care and quiet enigma, Lily's journey of recovery was just beginning. Nestled within the charming yet unpredictable world of Grace's home, every day promised small revelations and provided the fragile hope that, despite a cruel beginning, a future filled with unexpected miracles might be waiting just around the corner. That evening, as twilight softened the edges of the day and a gentle rain pattered against the old windows, Grace led Lily into a snug sitting room filled with a warm glow from a crackling fireplace. The soft strains of a forgotten melody played on the gramophone, and the overhead lamp cast dancing shadows on the walls adorned with sepia photographs and handwritten letters. It was in this intimate setting, far removed from the chaos of Lily's recent past, that Grace began to unravel the quiet tapestry of her own life. Sitting in an overstuffed armchair, Grace offered Lily a steaming mug of herbal tea and gestured for her to join at the low wooden coffee table. "My dear," Grace began, her voice soft but unwavering, "I know you feel lost, abandoned by those who should have loved you. I, too, have felt that same profound loneliness." As she spoke, her eyes, filled with both sorrow and a spark of resilience, met Lily's inquisitive gaze. There was an air of vulnerability in Grace's tone, an invitation to listen to the story of a long, winding road marked by both shimmering successes and heartbreaking losses. Grace explained that, in her youth, she had once aspired to a glamorous life on the stage. "I reveled in the lights, the applause, and the thrill of a performance," she recalled with a bittersweet smile. "For a while, I believed the world was my stage." But behind the scenes of that glittering facade, Grace carried a secret sorrow. She told Lily about the daughter she loved more than life, a bright soul whose promise had illuminated Grace's world. "My darling, I nurtured her dreams as if they were my own. But fate, in its cruel design, took her away from me far too soon," Grace confessed, her eyes glistening with the memory of loss. The raw honesty of her words hung in the air, resonating with the quiet pain that Lily had felt since the day her own life had shattered. As Grace recounted the painful aftermath of her daughter's departure, a loss that left an aching void, yet also taught her the value of unconditional love, Lily felt an unexpected kinship with the eccentric woman. These were not just the fragments of a once vibrant theatrical dream. They were lessons earned in the crucible of heartbreak. "I know," Lily murmured softly, her voice trembling with a mixture of empathy and wonder. "Sometimes, I feel like I'm drowning in this loneliness too." For the first time, Lily realized that her struggles were not isolated misadventures but part of a shared narrative. A testament that loss and hardship could forge bonds between seemingly disparate souls. Grace leaned forward, her words gentle yet resonant. "You remind me of her, dear Lily," she said, carefully choosing each syllable as if it carried the weight of the past. "I see the same fierce spirit, the same hope amid despair. I once thought I had lost everything when my daughter was gone, but in that emptiness, I discovered that what truly matters is the love we share. Love not bound by blood, but by our heart's willingness to care." As the night wore on, the conversation deepened. Grace washed away the authoritarian airs of her eccentricity, revealing instead a woman who had battled her own demons and found solace in caring for those who needed a gentle hand. She spoke of dusty diaries and faded photographs that chronicled a life filled with vibrant dreams and painful realities alike, inviting Lily to leaf through them as if uncovering treasures of joy and sorrow intermingled. Lily, who had grown up feeling ostracized and unloved, began to see that perhaps her life could be remolded. Instead of being defined solely by the hardships thrust upon her by others, she could take a page from Grace's own journey. Over successive evenings, as they cooked simple meals together and tended the small garden bursting with wildflowers, a deep and unlikely friendship blossomed. A friendship transcending age and circumstance. Grace's gentle mentorship offered Lily not only practical skills, like mixing herbs for remedies or learning recipes that warmed the heart, but also the inner strength to believe in herself. Here in this quirky, cherished haven, the past was not erased, but its lessons were gently transformed into hope for the future. Between shared laughter and quiet moments of reflection, the two women forged a bond that bridged the gap between generations. Grace's storied past, filled with both luminous triumphs and crushing defeats, became a guiding light for Lily, whose own path was just beginning to emerge from the shadows of rejection. In that modest, time-worn house, amidst artifacts of years gone by and the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals, Lily discovered that sometimes the most unexpected guardians come in forms as eccentric and mysterious as the secrets they hold. And as the night drew to a close, with rain still dancing on the windowpane and the soft ticking of an old clock marking the passage of time, Lily felt something stir within her, a quiet conviction that, in this new chapter of her life, she was neither alone nor abandoned. In Grace's warm, weathered smile and in the soft echo of her whispered past, Lily saw the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a future where family was chosen, and true kinship was forged through compassion, understanding, and the courage to embrace the pain of yesterday as the foundation for hope in tomorrow. A few weeks into her new life at Grace's eccentric haven, Lily began to settle into a rhythm of tentative hope. The once ailing teenage mother had found comfort in the quirky household, her days now filled with learning, small tasks around the garden, and even moments of introspection as she pored over Grace's old diaries. Yet, even in this cocoon of strange but sincere care, uncertainty lingered in the corners of her mind, as if warning her that all solace was never free from life's unpredictable blows. One crisp afternoon, as soft sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows of the cozy parlor, Grace and Lily sat together at a low wooden table decorated with wildflowers and a well-worn lace tablecloth. They sipped on warm herbal tea while discussing quiet memories of days long past. The gentle ambience was suddenly shattered by a firm, insistent knock at the door, a sound that cut through the delicate tranquility like a jagged shard of glass. Grace exchanged a knowing glance with Lily before rising slowly to answer the unexpected summons. At the door, standing in the cool autumn air, was a man in an impeccably tailored suit and an expression that left little room for courtesy. His eyes were steely beneath arched brows, and he carried a leather briefcase as if it were a shield of authority. Without a hint of preamble, he introduced himself in a clipped, businesslike tone. "Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Stanton, legal counsel representing certain creditors. I'm afraid I must inform you that this property is now officially under arrest for outstanding debts." The words fell like a heavy blow. For a heartbeat, the room stilled. Lily's eyes widened, and she instinctively drew closer to Grace as if seeking refuge from a threat too sudden and severe to comprehend. "Under arrest?" Lily's voice wavered, disbelief mingling with rising panic. It was as if the sanctuary she'd come to rely upon was now crumbling before her very eyes. Mr. Stanton continued, his tone unyielding. "Yes, ma'am. Legal proceedings have been initiated, and you are required to vacate the premises within a short period unless immediate action is taken. I regret to inform you this notice leaves little room for delay." Lily felt her heart race. The notion of having to leave, again, not of her own choosing, sent a surge of terror coursing through her. Memories of being rejected by the very people who were supposed to protect her flared up in her mind. She blinked back tears as the harsh reality began to intrude on the fragile hope that Grace's home had nurtured. Sensing Lily's distress, Grace placed a steady hand on her shoulder, her eyes soft yet fiercely protective. Now, dear," she said in a soothing yet firm tone. "Please trust me." Her voice carried a depth of resolve that belied the strangeness of the circumstances. "I've long known that appearances can deceive. This is not the end of our sanctuary," she continued, her gaze not wavering from Mr. Stanton's steely expression. Mr. Stanton's eyes flicked between Grace and Lily as he delivered his message with clinical detachment. "The creditors claim that the property is burdened with significant debts that remain unpaid. I must advise you that legal action will force your relocation if no arrangement is made." His words were delivered without sympathy, as though speaking of an inconvenience rather than a home filled with second chances. In that moment, Lily's mind raced. The idea of starting over yet again, of being tossed onto the unforgiving streets with a baby in her arms, was almost too terrible to bear. Her voice caught as she murmured, "But where do we go?" A tremor of despair shivered through her words. Grace's eyes, however, held a secret glimmer, a spark that hinted at a plan known only to her. "Please don't panic, Lily," Grace said gently. "I assure you, I've been preparing for contingencies far worse than this. I know how precious this home has become, and I will not allow it to slip away without a fight. You must trust me, for I have my own reasons for keeping this place safe." Grace's cryptic reassurance, layered with both kindness and determination, momentarily steadied the fluttering heartbeat of the terrified young mother. Yet across the room, the gravity of Mr. Stanton's pronouncement pressed in like a gathering storm cloud. The once peaceful parlor had been transformed into a battleground of uncertain futures. As Mr. Stanton adjusted his tie and prepared to leave, he made one final remark. "You'll have 2 weeks to resolve this matter, after which legal forces will act accordingly." With that, he departed, leaving behind an echo of formality and a trail of foreboding in his wake. In the ensuing silence, Lily's eyes filled with fresh tears. Panic churned in her chest, but she found herself anchored by Grace's steady presence. "What are we going to do?" Lily whispered, her voice trembling with fear and uncertainty. Grace, with a distant but resolute expression, replied softly, "Everything is not as it seems, dear. We have more allies than appear, and sometimes, the harshest storms bring forth the brightest rainbows. I promise you, we will find a way to protect this home and secure your future. In that vital moment, with legal threats looming and her heart in turmoil, Lily's fragile world teetered on the brink. Yet beneath the veneer of her panic, a seed of hope was being sown. One that would soon reveal surprising truths and unlock secrets hidden in the dusty depths of a mysterious past. One rainy afternoon, when the gray skies outside perfectly mirrored the uncertainty within, Lily felt an irresistible pull to explore one of the house's most enigmatic rooms. In a cluttered storeroom tucked behind old trunks and faded heirlooms, she discovered a dusty wooden chest, its surface worn and etched with delicate carvings that hinted at a long, illustrious past. Inside, wrapped carefully in yellowed newspaper and tied with a fraying ribbon, lay a collection of documents, faded photographs, and personal mementos. As Lily unwrapped the fragile bundle, her eyes widened in disbelief. The papers revealed bank statements, property deeds, and candid portraits that painted the picture of a woman of considerable means. Slowly, the truth emerged from each brittle page. Grace was not the impoverished, eccentric retiree she had appeared to be. Instead, she was the long-forgotten heiress of a vast estate, a woman who had deliberately concealed her financial security. For years, Grace had feigned a life of modesty and loneliness, hiding behind a carefully constructed facade to escape the suffocating clutches of greedy relatives who would stop at nothing to keep her fortune for themselves. The documents detailed a storied past, one filled with high society soirees and secret scandals, before Grace chose to vanish from that glittering world. Instead, she sought solace in anonymity and dedicated herself to caring for those who had been shunned by fate, like Lily. Heart pounding with both awe and a renewed sense of purpose, Lily took the collection to Grace. Confronting her gently, she asked, "Grace, who are you really? I found all these papers. I don't understand." Leaning back in her favorite, time-worn armchair, Grace's eyes softened as she regarded the young mother. With a quiet confession, she revealed how her past had been a double-edged sword. The wealth that could have brought comfort had instead become a cage, luring conniving relatives into her life. "I chose to hide because I wanted to build something real, a home, a sanctuary, without the shadows of greed and entitlement looming over me," Grace explained, her voice both wistful and resolute. The revelation struck Lily like a burst of unexpected sunlight after a long, stifling night. For the first time, the oddities of Grace's behavior, the half-finished conversations with unseen friends, the secretive glances at locked drawers, suddenly made sense. It was not eccentricity for its own sake. It was the mark of a woman living cautiously yet purposefully, guarding the treasure of authentic compassion over material wealth. In that intimate moment, the air in the storeroom filled with a palpable resolve. Grace continued, "I've been preparing for moments like this, Lily. Today, the threat is not just the legal notice Mr. Stanton delivered. It's the possibility that my true identity, and by extension, the sanctuary we've built together, might be lost to those who would exploit it. I have a plan, a bold move that may just turn the tables." Moved by the strength and vulnerability intertwined in Grace's confession, Lily realized that she, too, had the chance to reclaim her future. With her baby cradled close and tears of both pain and hope still shimmering in her eyes, Lily said, "I trust you, Grace. I want to fight for our home, for this family that we've chosen. I'm not ready to be abandoned again." In that charged silence, united by a shared history of sacrifice and the determination to protect the fragile new life blossoming within the old, mismatched walls, the two women forged an unbreakable alliance. They agreed to combine Grace's well-hidden resources and Lily's unwavering resilience to challenge Mr. Stanton's claim. Together, they would work to prove that true wealth was not measured by money, but by the care, dignity, and love nurtured within a family. Their decision was both an act of defiance and an act of profound hope, a pledge that no legal threat, nor the betrayal of indifferent institutions, would extinguish the light they had kindled in each other's lives. In the days following the alarming visit from Mr. Stanton, Grace's quiet determination began to manifest into a plan that would secure a brighter future for both her and Lily. Late one evening, as rain softly tapped against the stained glass windows of her cozy home, Grace led Lily into a small study lined with old books, legal documents, and treasured photographs from her illustrious past. There, Grace revealed a secret she had long guarded, a meticulously preserved stack of legal papers and deeds that attested to her true identity as an heiress with considerable means. With a gentle, reassuring smile, Grace explained, "For years, I have hidden my wealth to keep the unwanted attention of those who only see money. I chose simplicity to protect the parts of me that truly matter, and to build a home where love is valued over inheritance. Now I see that our family, this family we have chosen, is far more important than any sum of money or piece of property." Her voice trembled with a mix of remembrances and resolve as she carefully spread the documents across the old oak desk. Lily listened in rapt silence as Grace detailed how she had quietly arranged everything. In secret meetings with a trusted attorney, one who had been by her side ever since she left behind the glittering yet treacherous world of high society, Grace had redrafted her will to include not only herself but also Lily and her precious child as the rightful heirs of her longtime home and estate. "This house," Grace declared softly, "is our sanctuary, and from this day forward, it will belong to you and your child. For true family isn't defined by blood, but by the bonds we forge by choice." The weight of Grace's words and the gravity of her unexpected generosity overwhelmed Lily with gratitude and humility. The realization that she was now not only embraced but also entrusted with a secure future, one that would defy those who had cast her aside, filled her heart with hope. As the legal papers were signed and arranged in the warm glow of that tender moment, a sense of rebirth crept into the corners of her life. She could now envision a stable home, a nurturing environment for her baby, and even a legacy of compassion stretching far into the future. The following morning, the news of the estate transfer began to take shape in hushed excitement throughout the local community. Mr. Stanton's icy claims and the threat of forced eviction were now countered by the very real possibility of a quiet miracle. Grace's decisive act, rewriting the future of her beloved home, ensured that even in the face of looming legal challenges, love and family would triumph over greed and abandonment. In that transformative moment, as the rain yielded to a tentative sunrise, Lily's new life started to take form. A life anchored not in the past's harsh judgments, but in the promise of a future filled with hope, warmth, and the extraordinary bond between an unlikely pair. The resilient teenage mother and the extraordinary, eccentric matriarch who had given her a second chance. A full year had passed since that fateful day at the bus stop, and Vermont's gentle countryside now bore the marks of transformation, both in nature and in the lives of those who had once been broken. Lily, once a lost and abandoned teenage mother, had found strength in Grace's unwavering care and the sanctuary of the eccentric old house. With the legacy of those secret deeds firmly in her hands, the legal threats faded into distant memories, replaced by the warm promise of a brighter future. Over time, Lily rebuilt her life with purpose and passion. Today, she runs a vibrant community center dedicated to helping young mothers and vulnerable girls, those who, like her, once walked the lonely roads of rejection. The center, lovingly called New Beginnings, offers counseling, job training, and safe spaces where these young women can rebuild their lives, embrace their worth, and create a future of dignity and self-reliance. As stories of despair turned to hope began to ripple through the town, Lily's tireless work became a symbol of what compassion and resilience can achieve. Grace, whose secret past had been revealed and whose hidden wealth had provided the means to rescue and secure the beloved home, had embraced a new role. Not just a benefactor, but a cherished grandmother figure to Lily's child, and soon, to many of the young souls taken in by New Beginnings. In the gentle glow of autumn afternoons, Grace could be seen tending her flourishing garden, her wise eyes sparkling as she shared stories of her theatrical past, her losses, and now her miracles. Her soft-spoken guidance reminded everyone that family is defined not by blood but by the love we choose to give. In a tender final scene that encapsulated the journey from hardship to hope, the camera lingers on a sunlit porch where Lily's son, now a sprightly young boy, runs merrily toward Grace. With outstretched arms, she welcomes him like a long-lost treasure, and together they kneel in the garden as she teaches him to nurture the first delicate blooms of spring. The image speaks volumes. From the seeds of neglect and abandonment, a new family, built on choice and genuine care, had blossomed into something resilient and enduring. Before the screen fades to black, a final message appears. This is a story of miracles, the kind that come from unexpected places. Sometimes, the strongest bonds are not those formed by blood, but by the courage to love and the refusal to let anyone be left behind. Subscribe now and join us for more incredible stories of hope, transformation, and the human heart.